All right, so I've never done a video like this. I'm going to give some predictions as to what I think by this time next year will be really popular. And the reason I'm doing this is because I do this for myself internally all the time. But I thought it would be interesting to sort of throw this prediction out into the world and get your feedback on it. See what you think, right? And I'm going to be asking for specific comments by the end of the video. So make sure you're sticking around and you're paying attention, because I'd really love to know your opinions on a couple of key pieces. But I thought it'd be interesting to throw this out there and then revisit it next year to see how far off I am. Because chances of me getting it right, I don't know. I like to think I'm accurate, but there's some bias there, right? So if you're new to this channel, my name is Seth. I'm a full-time fantasy author. I have written a ton of books, and I love talking about being an author, and I love talking about writing. And a big part of being an author, especially if you want to be full-time, is understanding the flow of the market. Specifically, what direction the market is going in. You may have heard the term right to market. And right to market is this principle that is either embraced or panned, depending on which side of the equation you're on. But the right to market is really a spectrum. And all it means at its core, like if we really boil it down, all it means is you're writing to reader expectation. And so if you're a right to market author, you might write romance with very specific tropes that you know romance authors love. You can also do the same thing in fantasy, in military sci-fi, in nonfiction too. Like, it doesn't matter. Right to market is just writing specific genres with specific tropes because you know there's an audience for it, right? I want to let you in on a little bit of a secret, though. This is definitely something that people, especially people who preach right to market, don't talk about. And that is, if you are writing to market, then chances are, unless you're in an evergreen genre, you are too late. Trends are like a wave. And by the time a wave is cresting, it is no longer rising. It is about to fall. And so when most people get into a market, they're already past, like the market is already past its peak, or it's about to hit its peak and then it's going to fall off. So the thing that's tricky about that is that because it takes time to write a book, right? It might take a couple of months, it might take a year, it might take 2 years. Because of that, you can't react, like if a genre comes, you can't react fast enough, right? If a genre comes in and is like, oh, this is the new hot genre and readers love this genre and they like these specific tropes in it and I figured it out, cool. By the time I come out with a book, it's probably not going to do as well as it would have if I had come out with it when I noticed the trend. And so a lot of times we talk about right to market, but if you look at really, really good authors, they are not writing to market. They're creating the next market. If you're into business books at all, and I'm very much into business books, but if you're into business books at all, there's a really good book called Blue Ocean Strategy that talks about this concept. So what does this have to do with my video? Well, I don't write to market in the traditional sense because I'm not looking for markets to write into. Instead, I'm looking for trends that I can predict and betting that I can write a book that next year when it comes out is going to hit the market at the right time. And I don't always succeed. In fact, I don't know that I've succeeded. Never mind. I've succeeded a couple of times. But I don't always succeed, right? There's no guarantee that you're going to be right. And you could write a book or a whole series and readers just aren't into it. That's entirely possible. But it's important to make these bets. Because if you don't make these bets, you end up chasing the wave, always. And chasing the wave is incredibly frustrating. It's incredibly disheartening. And it makes it harder to do this full time. So that's why I'm putting this video out, because I want to make this prediction about what's going to be good next year. And if you want to bet on it with me, you can. And if you don't, no worries. I'm going to check it next year, and I'm going to try to determine how successful I was in my prediction. All right, so I've got a couple predictions for you. First, I think anti-authoritarian books are coming back into vogue. Now, we have to be a little bit specific here, because I'm not talking about sort of the Hunger Games, Divergent, like young adult anti-authoritarian. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm instead talking about people or characters who are in a system, come to understand that the system is corrupt, and try to break free from it. That's the specific trope that I'm talking about. Whether they break free by leaving the system or by reforming the system, I think is going to be the sort of divide in these specific kinds of stories. I think we'll start with the same trope and it'll have a diverging path, right? But I think that stories with this specific trope of somebody who is intimately involved in a system, like an insider perspective, who then recognizes corruption and seeks change, whether through abandoning the system entirely or rebuilding the system from the inside. I think those books are going to be really popular. I also think, along with that, that we are moving away from pure epic fantasy into a more and pure sci-fi. Okay, so right now in the last couple of years, we've had epic fantasy and hard sci-fi as sort of two linchpins for the book community. And I think we're moving away from them. And I think what we're moving to is a blended mix of, I guess blended and mix are kind of the same word. Anyway, we're moving to a blend of science fiction on the one hand and epic fantasy on the other. Both have strong political elements, and I think that's where they tie together. And so I think we're going to see stories that are anti-authoritarian from an insider's perspective and are a blend of science fiction and fantasy. Okay? And so that is that's my big prediction, that is going to turn into a powerhouse of a combination. So then that begs the question, what am I going to be writing in the next year? Well, I just told you. I'm going to be writing stories that are about insiders who are discovering the brokenness of the systems that they inhabit and are going to be seeking to either abandon or change them. And I'm going to be mixing my science fiction and my fantasy to create something that is a little bit new. Something that whether it's, sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic, or magic explored to the end is science, it doesn't matter, but it'll be a blend of those two things, fantasy tropes, sci-fi tropes, with a healthy dose of adventure and friends and found family and all of the other tropes, overpowered characters, all of the other tropes that I like putting into books. Like, I'm going to keep what I like doing, right? But those are my two main predictions. And we'll find out in a year whether I'm right or not. But I really want to pass this question to you. What do you think? First of all, are you a writer who writes to market, or do you like writing your own thing? And second of all, what are you writing this year? What are you betting on? What are the tropes that you think are going to be really good next year? What are the genres that you think are going to be really good next year? Let me know down in the comments below. I would love to learn from you and hear your thoughts on this subject. And we'll check in again next year when I determine whether I was accurate or not.